Hello, and welcome again to my continuing series of that really wasn't quite clear in the book. In this particular video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to venture into the wonderful world of Access. Now, excuse me, Access is a database program that comes with the Microsoft Office product. It's actually very handy, but pretty much you will probably not use it a whole lot. As it's also a little bit obsolete. Most of the databases that you'll be working with will be something called SQL, or as we say in, excuse me, as we say in shorthand, SQL. But the whole key of studying an Access database and how to put together an Access database and run reports and so forth, the whole key to this is to actually understand how databases work and some of the things that actually might go wrong with them. One of the things I want you to understand is that if you do any one thing incorrectly here in an Access database, then in fact your whole database will indeed fall apart. Now, there are two types of databases that are available. One are relational databases, and the other types are flat file databases. Excel, although it is a spreadsheet, it's also referred to as a flat file database, for you can go ahead and put information into each one of those cells and then run a formula or run a set of commands and get a response from that particular database. Again, even though it is more commonly referred to as a spreadsheet. So, now the other type of databases that we have here are relational databases. And relational databases are kind of like spiders. They have all sorts of tentacles that sort of touch each other or touch small parts of each other. They're a combination of several files in here, and they can actually get quite large. We'll talk about that a little bit later. For today, we want to go ahead and we want to look into the particular class that I'm teaching right now, which is Comp 1000 at Central Georgia Tech, and over here in Warner Robins, Georgia. And in this particular case, we have opened up a project for what we're referring to as week 5 access. You'll see over here, if you click on this file right here, and it will come on open, you'll see this will be available for you. And these are actually the steps and the amount of points that you'll be doing here. Now, in this case here, if you look through, you'll see this is actually 3 pages. We don't actually want to go ahead and leave this on the computer. We actually want to go ahead and click this to download it, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to print it on out. Now, when we print it out, we're going to come up with a, excuse me, we're going to go ahead and come on up with a sheet that looks sort of like this. And this is going to take us through the steps that we're going to want to do in order to run our database. So for right now, we want to go ahead and go through for this first part, the steps 1 through 7, which actually they're the hardest steps because you have to be very exacting in what you're doing. But they're also some of the most important steps. You'll find that once you get your data in and get it in correctly, working with Access is going to be very, very easy. So, what we want to do on over here is we want to go ahead and take a look here at the stops that we're going to, or excuse me, the steps that we're going to do through here. And in our case, we're going to go ahead and open and create a blank Access database from your computer and save it as week 5 Access first name in your Comp 1000 Access folder. Now, most programs that you start on over in the Microsoft Windows environment, if you're going to access a file in that you'll usually want to go ahead and just click on the file, and then the program in which that file is related to will open up. For example, if you want to open up an Excel file, you would double click on a file on Excel and it would say, oh, this is an Excel file. Go out and find a copy of Excel, open up that copy of Excel, and then put that file that you've just clicked on into that copy of Excel. relatively easy. There's a whole series of things that happens here that, quite frankly, you don't need to know about right now. But you do need to know that if you're dealing with access, you don't want to just click on the file. You want to go ahead and start at the very base in here, because, as I said, Access is a very intricate and very complicated program. So you want to go ahead and build your database just like you were building a house. So in our case on over here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up a copy of Access here. Now this copy of Access, I went ahead and clicked on Start and then popped into Access. In this copy of Access, um, you'll see on over here that this is actually my done report. But I do want to go ahead and show you that when you're creating a file, we'll go ahead and we'll start this again. You want to open up the Access. I'm going to do File and then New. And then over here, you can either search for an online template. We're not actually going to do that here. Instead of the online template, we're going to go ahead and click over here on the blank database. So if I click here onto a blank database, look on over here and you'll see that it says here, where do you want to go ahead and create, and it'll also give you a little folder here in which you want to go ahead and put this into. In our case here, I'm going to change this folder. And again, this is very important. Access gets very, very intricate. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this on down on over here into, again, my summer 2020 files in here. And I'm going to go ahead and go into my Comp 1000 folder here. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call this particular file over here. We're going here again into the folder of summer 2020, and then we're going to have another folder here called Comp 1000, and I'm going to create a new folder in here, and my new folder is going to be called Access. Okay, so now that I've created my new folder called Access, I've double clicked on it. We see that this is open, and then I have a file name in here. In this case here, I'm going to go ahead and put in my week 5 Access, and first name, last name, and this. And I'm just going to go ahead and click over here on this. Now you see over here this 2007 through 2016. This is our most recent format. So we're going to go ahead and click on this and click on OK. And you'll see here that this is going to tell you where it's actually saving it. What we're doing here, again, we're building a house, and this is a portion here of where you're going to go ahead and prepare your land before you start laying your foundation. Anybody who's ever moved a trailer before knows that if you put a trailer on a piece of property and then you move it from one property to another, sometimes things get bent up. So you, under normal circumstances, don't really want to move that trailer. You want it to be pretty much solid in one place. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create this here in this place here, just like we're going to lay it over here onto our foundation with the trailer. So I've gone ahead and I've created this file, and by default you see we have a table 1 here, and it comes over here and it has an ID field and then another item over here to add. So in this case over here, I'm going to go ahead and I've created this here. It says save the table as table 1. As it says, save the table as table 1 as personal information. So I see here that it's called table 1, but I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on this save file, and instead of that, we're going to call this personal information. Okay, and now you want to be careful that you go ahead and you spell everything exactly correct. See, now the table 1 has gone away. We now have a table here called personal information. In addition to creating this table called personal information, there are all sorts of ways that you can start laying down the structure of your database. And the way I prefer to do it is I like to do it in design view. If I want to go into design view, I'm going to move my mouse over here and click here into this view table. and you see these little this triangle, pencil, and ruler. These are things that you would design in. So we're going to click on these design things, and we're going to go over here into design view, and lo and behold, there we have this information on over here. And now this over here has a table. We're not in table view, we're in design view right now. So in our case over here, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to create a field name. So in this case here, we're going to create a field name called student ID, and here data type. You have to be very careful in here. It defaults to auto number. Since it defaults to auto number, it will automatically put a series of numbers starting at 1, 2, starting at 1 and going on to however many items in here you have. And again, in each one of these fields would have a number associated to it. So we're going to drop down here, and we're going to change this from auto number to just plain old number, and our life just got a lot easier here. Now take a look down here, and you'll see some other things that change, and we'll see how that works there. But in our case here on this, we're going to go ahead and for a description of this, we're going to go ahead and put in here unique identifier of student. Now if you put anything in there incorrectly, it's going to be messed up. Now we don't, from here, we don't have to worry about anything else in here except for this part over here, which is, come on down here to the bottom where we have our caption. Our caption is going to be ID, and you'll see why that's important here in just a few moments as soon as we get you there. We see on over here it says select as primary key in here. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to take this primary key off for just a second. We're going to come on back and put it back on a little bit later. You can if you want to. You don't have to. I normally do this because if I create a field, or excuse me, if I create a field here and I don't put any information in, it has a primary key on it, sometimes I get an error back that says primary key cannot contain a null value. That means you got a primary key and you don't have anything in it. Well, when you're just designing it, of course you don't have anything in it. But it's just one of the quirks of this program. So we probably don't want to put this in here yet, but we do want to come back and establish the primary key a little bit later. Now we'll come over here to, again, this next field, which is going to be first name. Data type here is short text. That's easy enough. We're going to pop on down over here, last name. Well, let me go back over here. First name, short text. You see on over here that the field size on this is 255. I'm going to change this to 20. Now, for those of you who are mathematically inclined and so forth, you might have figured out that the reason that we have a default number of 255 is because on a lot of computers that are still working with as 8-bit systems, if you take a binary number and turn on all the characters in binary number, that is from 0, and then just turn them on and change it to 8 ones. 8 ones in binary converts over to 255. A binary numbering scheme, or an 8-bit binary numbering scheme, actually has 256 numbers. That's the all eight characters being turned on, and then of course you have your number 0. Which also counts as a number. Not something that's really important for you to know, but if you're one of these people who wants to know why things are, then you certainly can go from there. So we've got, again, in this case over here, we have our field size. Data type here is short text. First name, and like I said, short text. Field size, we don't have anything else in here. Now we're going to go ahead and put in here last name. And pop on over here. Whoops. Last name. And again, in last name, this popped up over here, 255. I want to take that out. We'll put in 20. We're going to move here to street, or put in street. In this particular exercise, street is going to have 30 characters in it. Okay, and city, it's going to be a short text, and it's going to have 20 characters in it. Let's go, let me take that back, 25 characters in it. State, again, short text, and state here, instead of 255, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in just 2 because we're going to use the postal abbreviations for the state. The postal code. Okay, and in this case, it's going to be short text even though it's numbers, because this number here is not anything that you're going to be working on or altering. So we're going to treat it like text. If we put in numbers there, we could add this field up with other items in here, and so forth. But again, here in the state, over here, or excuse me, in the postal code, we're going to go ahead and just put in 5. Okay, so, and that's your field size. So we're not going to use the zip plus 4 that you might normally use. This one's going to be a little bit interesting, and I'll take you through this. So let's go ahead and do the postal code. I'm sorry, we already did the postal code. We're going to go ahead and do our phone number. This is also short text in here, and we're going to have 20 numbers in this. Oops. Now, in addition here, we're going to do something. We're going to put in a form for us to type information in here just a little bit later. So in our phone number, we're going to come on down here and click here into our input mask. See here, this is our input mask. This means that this is going to tell us something about what we want to actually put in here. So you have to be careful not to miss this. Let's click on this. So potential security thing has been identified. These are the things you should look out for. In this case, I know that I do want to do this, so we're not going to worry about that. Must save table first, save it now. Yes, indeed, I do. Okay, so in my case here, I'm going to put in here the phone number, and they click over here, try it, and so it'll actually show you the form it's going to put you in here. So I put this phone number in here, and it's going to look like this in your data. Okay, kind of cool. And you know, we could use zip codes and all this, and you'll see here you've got your dates, times, and so forth, and some other things that you could use. But for right now, we just want to do the phone number. Okay, so in this case here, what placeholder you want to put in the field today? In this case here, they're just going to go ahead and put in this underlines. You've got these other choices in here too, but we just want to use the underscores. And you can go ahead and click on try it, and that's what your form is going to look like. So you put in your area code and so forth in here. So we'll click next in here, and in our case here, how do you want to store the data? In my case here, I'm going to do it with the symbols in the mask. Click on next, and then we're going to finish. Okay. Now this looks a little bit funky, but as I said, we won't really worry too much about that. So there's your phone number over here, and now we're going to put in here date of birth. Okay. Okay, and instead of short text, this is going to be date time. Since date time is pretty straightforward, we certainly won't have to worry about this at all. And in this case here, we've done all this work. We're going to come over here and we're going to hit this little save information, or this little save button here, and that will go ahead and take us into or save our form. Now, a couple things I want to show you in here. So this is the form that we actually have put in here. So you've got your ID, your first name, last name, street, city, state, postal code, phone number, and date of birth. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and make these to make them these two best fit. Move this along and then just double click on it. I like to start on the right hand side and make my way on over to the left here. And we may actually even go ahead and change this a little bit later when the information comes in. But this is what you would do here with your personal information. And again, I'm going to hit the save number here, save part here. Understand that when you save something in Access, in an Access table, or with an Access database, all you're saving is the actual structure here for this material. So this is all the stuff you're saving. As you're putting the data in here, and I start to type this data in, as you're starting to work on that data, each time you move from one cell to another, Access will automatically save that information. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to go ahead and show you on over here on this particular part here. Let's go ahead and actually and take a stop here and go on over to that actually takes us through step two, which are probably two of the more important steps. But let's go ahead and stop here, and I'll be on back with you over here with part two.